What if I told you that the secret to, running after your great-grandkids at age 90 isn't about stopping the aging process at all?
Right. Because you really can't stop it.
Exactly. But it's actually about hiring, like, a microscopic biological contractor to go in and fix your internal plumbing.
I love that analogy. It really sets the stage.
Welcome to STEMCIERGE, your global concierge for advanced regenerative medicine. Here, we explore the science and breakthroughs redefining longevity and human performance, giving you clarity, confidence, and trusted insights as you navigate stem cell therapy around the world. Let's begin our deep dive.
Yeah, so today we are diving into the incredibly hyped and frankly vastly misunderstood world of longevity stem cell therapy.
It is so misunderstood, yeah.
Because there's this universal desire we all seem to share, right? It's not just the fantasy of hitting that triple-digit number and blowing out 100 candles on a birthday cake.
No, nobody just wants the years.
Right. You want to do it without your knees screaming in protest, without the brain fog, and without feeling fragile.
And that is the critical distinction between lifespan, which is just, the sheer number of years your heart keeps beating, and healthspan.
Healthspan, that's the key word.
Exactly. Healthspan is the number of years you actually feel highly functional, cognitively sharp, and physically resilient. Modern medicine has done a phenomenal job extending lifespan, but healthspan has largely lagged behind.
Yeah, and because nobody wants to be just a mere passenger in a failing body for the last 2 decades of their life, we've seen this absolute explosion of interest in longevity medicine.
Oh, an absolute boom.
But with that explosion comes like a massive cloud of noise. Social media is just flooded with aggressive marketing and these borderline magical claims about international stem cell clinics.
It really is.
Which is why today's mission is so important. We're going to cut right through that marketing static for you.
We have to, because it's a field totally saturated with promises of, like, fountain of youth shortcuts.
Yeah, and if you are seriously evaluating this path, you need to understand the underlying mechanisms of action, the real safety profiles, and what the science actually supports.
Right, rather than just what a slick brochure is trying to sell you.
Totally. So to do that, we're pulling from a fantastic source guide today. It's titled Longevity and Anti-Aging Stem Cell Therapy, How It Works and Where to Travel Abroad.
It's a great deep dive document.
It really is. What I love about it is its aggressive realism. I mean, it's a science-first manual that completely skips the miracle claims and zeroes in on the cellular biology and the highly complex reality of medical tourism as it stands right now in 2026.
Which is incredibly complex.
So complex. Okay, let's unpack this, because before anyone even thinks about booking a flight to a clinic in another country, we first need to understand the biological enemy we're actually trying to fight.
Right. Aging isn't just a number ticking up on a calendar.
Exactly. It's a physical, biological process happening inside you right now.
Yeah, modern science views aging as a series of cumulative cellular changes. And our source highlights several major drivers of this process.
And the big one is inflammation, right?
Yeah. Yes, the foundational concept to grasp here is something called inflammaging. As the name suggests, it is a chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation that just accumulates as we get older.
Inflammaging. I mean, the word itself sounds exhausting.
It is exhausting for your body because when you are young, your immune system is highly precise. It attacks a virus, heals a cut, and then it powers down.
It does its job and goes home.
Right. But as we age, the immune system loses that precision. It basically gets stuck in the on position, constantly overreacting to minor stressors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that persistent, low-grade fire slowly damages healthy tissue, blood vessels, and organs over decades.
It's like a biological fire alarm that just never quite gets turned off. And compounding that inflammaging, the text talks about the accumulation of senescent cells. I find this totally fascinating.
The zombie cells.
Yes, because from what I understand, human cells have a built-in limit on how many times they can divide, right? It's called the Hayflick limit.
Exactly, the Hayflick limit.
And when a cell reaches that limit, or if its DNA gets too damaged by environmental stress, it's supposed to trigger a self-destruct sequence to make room for healthy cells. But these senescent cells, they just refuse to die.
They do. And they are often referred to as zombie cells in the literature for that exact reason. They stop dividing, but they absolutely refuse to undergo apoptosis, which is programmed cell death.
So they just sit there.
They sit in your tissue. But it's worse than that. They secrete a highly toxic cocktail of inflammatory signals.
Of course they do.
It's a process known as the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, or SSP.
SASP, that sounds nasty.
It is. So not only are they taking up space and not doing their job, they are actively poisoning the healthy cells right around where they sit, which, directly feeds back into that whole cycle of inflammaging.
Okay, so while all this inflammation and cellular dysfunction is building up, the activity of your body's own native stem cells is simultaneously declining.
Right, your native repair crew is failing.
Yes. So if I can try an analogy here to paint the full picture for you guys listening, think of your body as a really large, beautiful, complex house.
Okay, I'm with you.
When you're young, you have this incredible internal maintenance crew of stem cells. A window breaks, they fix it. A pipe leaks, they patch it. But aging is like that maintenance crew slowly going on strike or retiring one by one.
They're just not showing up to work.
Exactly. And meanwhile, the garbage is piling up in the hallways. Those are the senescent zombie cells we talked about. And there's a slow, smoldering electrical fire in the basement, which is the inflammaging.
That is a brilliant way to look at it.
Mhm.
And to carry that analogy forward, your remaining maintenance crew is so overwhelmed by the smoke from the basement fire and the garbage in the hallways that they simply can't coordinate the repairs anymore.
They're just totally overwhelmed.
Yeah, your natural repair capacity and your cellular energy production, like your mitochondrial efficiency, they just grind to a halt.
Which perfectly sets up my next question. Because I see these ads online, and they make it seem like getting an IV of stem cells will literally erase your wrinkles, grow your hair back, and turn back the clock 30 years.
Oh, the marketing is wild.
Right. But if the house is fundamentally deteriorating on a cellular level, how are people getting fooled into thinking this is just a cosmetic cure-all?
What's fascinating here is how the terminology of regenerative biology gets completely hijacked by aesthetic marketing. In true longevity medicine, the goal is not cosmetic anti-aging.
It's not about looking 20 again.
No, and it is definitely not about immortality. Longevity medicine views stem cell therapy as a supportive, systemic intervention. The objective is to modulate those underlying drivers we just discussed, to cool off the inflammaging, and to encourage the body's remaining maintenance crew to finally get back to work.
So it's definitely not a standalone magic bullet.
Far from it. I mean, ethical providers are adamant that this is an adjunct to lifestyle optimization. You really have to put in the daily, work rigorous exercise, sleep protocols, nutritional discipline.
You have to actually maintain the house.
Exactly. If you aren't doing the daily work to maintain the house, bringing in an external biological intervention will yield very limited results. You simply can't out-infuse a terrible lifestyle.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so the house is aging, the maintenance crew is tired, and we want to bring in some temporary help to put out the fire.
Right.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the source dives deep into the specific cellular toolkit used in these longevity protocols. It specifically compares mesenchymal stem cells, or MSCs and exosomes.
Yes, the two big buzzwords right now.
Right, and it turns out these two things, which marketing often just lumps together like they're the same, are fundamentally different.
Understanding this distinction is vital for anyone evaluating a treatment protocol. I mean, most systemic longevity programs rely heavily on MSCs, usually delivered intravenously, so they can circulate throughout the entire vascular system.
Now wait, I have to clarify something basic here, because the source mentions that these are systemic allogeneic therapies. Allogeneic means donor-derived, right?
Yes, usually from the umbilical cord tissue of healthy, full-term donations.
Okay, so if a clinic is putting someone else's living cells into my body, why doesn't my immune system just immediately recognize them as foreign invaders and attack them?
That is the true brilliance of mesenchymal stem cells. They possess this unique characteristic called immune privilege.
Immune privilege. What does that mean practically?
Well, unlike an organ transplant, where you have to match blood types and take harsh immunosuppressant drugs to prevent rejection.
Which is a huge deal.
Right, but MSCs naturally lack certain markers on their surface, specifically MHC class II molecules. Because they lack these markers, your immune system's T cells just don't flag them as foreign.
Wow, so they basically wear an invisibility cloak.
Essentially, yes. They can float right past your body's security system, totally undetected.
That is incredible. Okay, so they get past security. What do they actually do once they are inside? Do they turn into new heart or liver tissue?
Generally, no. When delivered intravenously for longevity, they don't engraft and become new tissue.
Oh, well, they don't.
No, instead they act as biological managers through what is called paracrine signaling.
Paracrine signaling.
Yes. They sense their environment, they detect the inflammatory markers from that smoldering fire in the basement, and based on what they find, they release very specific signaling molecules over time.
So they're communicating with the body.
Exactly. They release cytokines, which are essentially chemical text messages and various growth factors.
Hmm.
These signals instruct your body's own overactive immune cells to calm down, and they stimulate your native tissue to begin the repair process.
They also provide crucial support for endothelial function, right? The vascular health aspect seems huge.
It is massive.
Yeah.
Healthy blood vessels are the supply lines for everything from brain function to metabolic health.
So MSCs are actually responding dynamically to what the body needs in real time.
Yes, because they are living cells, they adapt, they survey the biological landscape, and adjust their chemical output accordingly.
Okay, let me bring back my house analogy to compare this living response to exosomes. Because we see a lot of marketing trying to sell exosomes as like a cheaper, easier replacement for stem cells.
Which is highly misleading.
Yeah. So if MSCs are like hiring a seasoned live-in general contractor who walks onto the job site, sees that the plumbing is leaking, A&D, the electrical is sparking, and completely adapts their repair strategy over the next few months,
Right.
then exosomes are very different because exosomes aren't living cells at all.
No, they're not alive. Exosomes are simply extracellular vesicles.
Hmm.
Think of them as tiny lipid bubbles that contain proteins and messenger RNA.
So if the MSC is the general contractor, the exosome is basically a static blueprint or just a text message with a set of instructions.
That's a great way to put it.
It's a very helpful text message. But once you hit send, it can adapt. If a new problem arises on the job site, say a new leak springs up, the blueprint can't change itself. The exosomes just deliver their payload and they are done. They have a much shorter duration of activity.
Yes, and to take your construction analogy a step further, if the foundation of the house suddenly shifts, a blueprint can't call an audible. You need the living contractor for that.
Exactly.
Exosomes deliver a targeted, time-limited signal. They're excellent as adjuncts. Clinics often use them alongside living cells to provide an immediate, concentrated burst of anti-inflammatory signals.
So they work together.
Right, but the claims that exosomes can completely replace the adaptive, ongoing biological communication of living MSCs, that oversimplifies the biology entirely. For systemic, whole-body longevity support, the living adaptive MSCs remain the foundational therapeutic tool.
Just a quick break. This episode is brought to you by STEMCIERGE. If you're exploring stem cell therapy or evaluating clinics around the world, visit STEMCIERGE.com and take the free quiz to receive your personalized assessment. You'll get expert feedback on your eligibility, treatment options, and potential destinations, empowering you to make informed, confident decisions in the world of regenerative medicine. Visit STEMCIERGE.com today. Now, back to the episode.
Okay, so we have these powerful, immune-privileged biological contractors, the MSCs. But that brings us to the elephant in the room. Wait, I have to stop you there. Because whenever I hear about a medical breakthrough or a supposed miracle therapy that requires me to leave the United States or Europe, my scam radar immediately goes off.
Oh, absolutely, and it should.
If this science is so well documented and these cells are so effective at managing inflammation, why are these treatments largely locked away? I mean, is the FDA just drowning in bureaucratic red tape, or are people actually risking their lives by flying to these foreign clinics?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you're really looking at the fundamental tension between rapid medical innovation and strict consumer protection laws.
Which is always a tough balance.
It is. Regulatory bodies like the FDA operate on a very specific mandate. They have to prove definitive efficacy and absolute safety for a specific disease indication before a treatment can be commercialized.
Right. And currently, aging and general inflammaging are not classified as diseases.
Exactly.
But, doctors in the U.S. do stem cell injections for knees and shoulders, right? So the cells themselves aren't illegal.
The distinction lies in how the cells are handled.
Mm.
Under FDA guidelines, a clinic can take your own bone marrow, spin it in a centrifuge to concentrate it, and inject it back into your knee on the same day.
Okay, so just moving them around.
Right? That is considered minimal manipulation. But to achieve a systemic whole-body longevity effect, you need hundreds of millions of robust young cells.
Yeah.
You simply can't get that from a same-day bone marrow draw.
Because your own cells are old, too.
Exactly. You have to take donor umbilical cells and culture them in a laboratory for weeks to multiply them.
And the moment you multiply them in a lab, the regulatory framework changes completely, right?
Entirely. The FDA considers that process more than minimal manipulation. It literally reclassifies those expanded cells as a biological drug.
Oh, wow.
And bringing a new biological drug to market requires multi-phase, billion-dollar clinical trials. Clinics abroad aren't under FDA jurisdiction, so they have the legal flexibility to culture, expand, and administer these high-dose systemic protocols.
So this regulatory bottleneck has basically driven a massive boom in medical tourism.
A huge boom,
But
yes.
as the source outlines, not all destinations are created equal. I mean, you aren't just looking for a nice beach, you're looking for real medical infrastructure.
Which varies wildly.
Right, and the guide highlights several hubs for 2026, and they cater to very different needs. For example, Panama has positioned itself as incredibly research forward. They seem to be treating this almost like a massive, standardized clinical trial, trying to build the data sets that the U.S. is asking for.
Panama is a prime example of really institutionalizing the science. Then you have a destination like Thailand, which is taking a slightly different approach.
Thailand is known for medical tourism anyway, right?
Yes, they already have a world-class medical tourism infrastructure,
Yeah.
and they are blending high-level cellular labs with their renowned hospitality and recovery-focused care. They treat the cellular infusion as just one part of a holistic, weeks-long health optimization retreat.
And then you have Mexico, which is huge for North Americans, simply due to proximity and cost. You can fly down on a Friday and be back on a Sunday.
Very convenient.
But the source implies Mexico is highly variable. You have world-class, state-of-the-art labs right down the street from operators who might be massively cutting corners.
Which is terrifying.
It is. Other hubs like Colombia, Turkey, and Malaysia are also building very mature regenerative programs. But across the board, the trade-off is massive. By traveling abroad, you get access to the high-dose expanded cells, but you completely lose the safety net of your home country's regulatory agencies.
You are stepping entirely out of the protected zone.
Exactly.
And that is why country reputation alone means almost nothing. Two clinics sitting in the exact same city can have dramatically different standards regarding how they source their cells, how sterile their labs are, and what level of physician oversight they actually employ.
It's all on you.
Yes, when you cross that border, the burden of safety shifts entirely onto your own shoulders.
So what does this all mean for the person listening right now? Because let's be real, if I am a regular person, like I'm an accountant or a teacher, I don't run a virology lab.
Right, you're not a scientist.
Yeah. How on earth am I supposed to evaluate cell processing standards from 3,000 miles away? How do you navigate this Wild West without getting harmed by a bad actor?
This raises an important question, and it's perhaps the most critical part of our entire deep dive today. How do you vet a clinic when you are the sole line of defense?
Right.
The International Society for Stem Cell Research, the ISSCR, is very clear. Many of these longevity applications are still largely experimental.
Which doesn't mean they don't work.
Exactly. That doesn't mean they lack biological validity, but it means you must approach them with extreme rigor.
And thankfully, the source material lays out some very specific, actionable green flags and red flags. Let's start with the red flags, the biggest one. Outcome guarantees.
Oh, absolutely.
If a clinic promises to cure your autoimmune condition or guarantees you will feel 20 years younger, just run the other way.
In complex systemic medicine, there are no guarantees. Biology is simply too variable. Another massive red flag is vague answers about sourcing.
Like they won't tell you where the cells come from.
Right. If they won't tell you exactly where the donor tissue comes from or how it is screened for infectious diseases, hang up the phone.
Yeah, that's a huge no.
Furthermore, watch out for urgency-driven sales tactics. If a patient coordinator is pressuring you with, like, a limited-time discount to book a medical procedure today.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, that is a timeshare pitch, not ethical medicine.
Okay, what about the green flags? What does a legitimate, highly rigorous operation actually look like?
Transparent sourcing is non-negotiable. A reputable clinic will happily provide a certificate of analysis, or a COA, from an independent third-party laboratory.
A COA, got it.
Yes. And this document verifies the exact viability of the cells, confirms they are sterile, and proves they have been tested for endotoxins.
Ah, that's super specific, which is great.
Second, look for physician-led protocols. You want a comprehensive medical team deeply involved in your case, not just a sales rep in a white coat facilitating a transaction.
Right, you want actual doctors.
And third, strict medical screening. A good clinic should be actively looking for reasons not to treat you.
I love that. And that ties perfectly into the concept of patient candidacy, because this therapy is absolutely not for everyone.
No, it's really not.
The guide specifies that the ideal candidates are high performers, usually people 40 and older, who are hyper-focused on preventive aging, or those dealing with early degenerative or inflammatory conditions. Basically, people who already have their sleep, diet, and exercise dialed in and are looking to optimize further.
Conversely, ethical providers are very clear about contraindications. If you have an uncontrolled malignancy, an active cancer, systemic stem cell therapy is highly dangerous.
Because of the growth factors.
Yes, you are introducing powerful systemic growth factors into the body. While MSCs don't cause cancer, if a tumor is already present, those growth factors could inadvertently help the tumor build its own blood supply.
Oh, wow, that is terrifying.
It is. It is also not for people looking for a magic cosmetic fix or anyone unwilling to undergo rigorous preliminary blood work.
The phrase from the text is suitability over universal eligibility. I think that's such a great rule of thumb.
It really is the standard.
And to help figure out that suitability, the source mentions a very practical tool, the free STEMCIERGE evaluation quiz. It's designed to be a science-guided first step.
Which is so helpful.
Yeah, before you ever get on a sales call with a clinic abroad, this tool helps you assess whether international therapy even makes sense for your specific biological profile, and it arms you with the exact technical questions you need to be asking them.
Because expectation management is the ultimate hallmark of a legitimate longevity program. If the clinic isn't managing your expectations down to reality and explaining the limitations of the biology, they are just selling you a fantasy.
So really what we are looking at is a massive risk-reward calculation. You are constantly balancing the limitations of your home country's laws against the biological ticking clock of inflammaging and cellular decline.
It's a tough balance for anyone to strike.
We've covered tremendous ground today. I mean, we started by completely redefining aging, moving away from the calendar, and looking at the biological realities of telomere shortening, zombie cells, and systemic inflammation.
The fire in the basement.
Exactly. We unpacked how dynamic living MSCs can step in like a seasoned biological contractor to cool that inflammation and signal repair, and why they are so fundamentally different from static, prepackaged exosomes.
Right, the blueprints.
And we explored the complex reality of why accessing these high-dose cultured therapies requires international travel, balancing the desire for advanced medical innovation against the critical, non-negotiable need to meticulously vet clinics.
You have to demand that third-party lab transparency and prioritize your own safety above all else.
For you listening, you now hold a crucial advantage. You aren't going into this blindly. You are equipped with a science-first framework. You know the difference between MSCs and exosomes. You know how to ask for a certificate of analysis, and you know to walk away from anyone promising you a miracle.
Because knowledge is only powerful when it's actively applied to protect yourself and make informed, rational decisions.
Perfectly said.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to chew on.
Oh, I like where this is going.
We've spent all this time talking about the logistics of flying to Panama or Thailand to get donor stem cells to help our aging bodies. But if these MSCs work primarily by paracrine signaling, by sending chemical text messages to our body's own existing cells, what if the ultimate future of longevity isn't in a syringe from a foreign clinic at all? What if the holy grail of regenerative medicine is discovering a biological wake-up call? A targeted molecular way to reprogram and reawaken the dormant maintenance crew of stem cells already sleeping inside your own body.
That is the absolute frontier of the science, shifting the paradigm entirely from exogenous cell replacement to endogenous cell awakening.
It makes you wonder, maybe one day, blowing out those 100 candles won't require a passport or a plane ticket. You just need to know how to remind your own body how to fix the house.
Thank you for listening. If you found this episode valuable, please leave us a 5-star rating and review, then share it with someone who may benefit from it. For global insights and personalized guidance on stem cell therapy, visit STEMCIERGE.com to receive your tailored assessment and explore your treatment options with clarity and confidence. And as always, remember, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. Please consult your doctor before making decisions about your health. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered with STEMCIERGE.com.